state has really become a level of community I think we work with now. But to say Meals on Wheels, I think, is a great program. In our state here, it's sponsored in part by the government through the Area Agency on Aging. That program allows seniors to stay in their home. The quality of life issues are great. I mean, you're living in your own home as opposed to going to a nursing home. Nursing homes serve a purpose, and I know they do the best job they can, but it isn't like being in your own home. Right. And from a pure economic point of view, it is that Meals on Wheels program that gives them one hot meal, and often is split so they have that for the evening meal also, is cheaper than the state paying for these people to be in a fully staffed 24-hour-a-day nursing home. So from an economic point of view, that's a great program. But to go in and say there can't be any cuts, I can't say that. I mean, I think it's one of those things that really needs to be protected, but there may need to be a little cuts on it. I mean, that to me is one of those places you've got to look at closely, because they are a very vulnerable segment of the population. But to just say no, absolutely no cuts, I don't think you can do it. Education's the same way. Education's already taken a hit this year. It's going to take a hit next year. Education, public education, is a key to our economic recovery. It's a key to continued economic growth. I'm very strong. I teach at McCallie Catholic High School, a private school, Catholic school. I actually volunteer teach. They don't pay me for it, but and I've done that for 6 years. But that is important that private education. We have Thomas Jefferson. We have lots of private schools here that offer a quality of education. But you cannot say that you can look at private and not public. I am not a voucher person. I'm going to throw that in. I guess I was stumbling around with a little bit. I have my daughter goes to Joplin Senior High. My son graduated from McCallie. My oldest daughter graduated from McCallie. My youngest daughter goes to Martin Luther.
So you're not in favor of vouchers,
right?
Overall, the school education system in general, you like it, it works, it needs improvement.
There's always room for improvement. I think that R8 has done over the last 10 years a stellar job. When you look at their numbers, their graduation rates, their test scores have gone up. One of the things I really like about R8, I've talked to Dr. Huff, I talked to his predecessor, and being at McCallie, is our kids, I choose to send my kids to McCallie, the ones that have gone there. Our kids can still take advantage of Franklin Tech. They can take advantage of R8 classes. I have friends that homeschool whose daughter goes to school in the afternoon at R8. They homeschool in the morning. They do those classes. You're not going to homeschool in biochemistry or whatever that those classes are. R8 is a very open school district in working with private schools, whether they're religious or Thomas Jefferson secular, and with homeschool. That is an appropriate relationship. When you make a decision to send your kids to a private school, there's a cost associated with it. I am not in favor of pulling tax dollars away from public school to go to that private school. There's also a little misnomer with that if you're renting, you're not paying property tax, which is part of how the public schools are funded. Now you're paying, if you have a job, you're paying income tax, and part of that income tax does go to R8. You get some general funds, you get some property tax. But I think the view, it's a little too simplistic to say my tax dollars need to follow my kid, because it isn't all just your tax dollars that are supporting your kid. And we cannot, I'm very glad we have a very strong private education program here, but we need to have a very strong, and we have a strong, it's getting better, public education system. And we cannot sacrifice, I would not do anything that would jeopardize the strength of that public education system.
Right. With your experience and everything you've done to work in small businesses for yourself, up to large business and teaching, do you think that the Joplin is a good base for businesses to come into, to encourage businesses to come here, or how do we do a better job of encouraging business here in the community?
I think one, we have a good place to attract businesses. I mentioned my wife's a physician. When a doctor comes in to interview, one of the first things they look at is education. They look at civic services, they look at parks, they look at housing, they look at cost of living. A lot of people look at the cost of living is important. We have a very decent cost of living. One of the things that we can take advantage of, I think, in this recession and budget crisis time is it forces us to look at what are we doing that we can do better. I think it's time with Missouri that we look not just for Southwest Missouri, but as a whole, what do we need to do to be competitive with places like Kentucky? You've heard of the special session that's going on. We got worrying about the tax incentive to keep Ford from pulling production out of Kansas City. Well, why is Ford looking to move to Kentucky? Why did the Toyota plant end up in Tennessee instead of here? I think it's time that we can see what we're doing and where can we perhaps change our tax structure, our incentive structure to make ourselves more attractive to large business and to small business.
Mm-hmm.
They're not mutually exclusive to be attracted to either one of those.
Right. You think the tax system will always kind of be in place the way it is today?
We need to reform the tax system. I am not, at this time, on board with the fair tax proposals. We're a border state. Joplin's a border community. Kansas City, St. Joe, St. Louis. A large percentage of our population lives within a few miles of another state.
Mm-hmm.
A sales tax-based system is not a bad idea if you have a whole area doing it on a national level. There's a lot of merit to it. But I've talked to a lot of our business people here in town that are very worried that if our sales tax is 3%, 2% higher than Kansas or Arkansas, where's that next, where are you going to go buy it?
Well, any last thoughts, remarks of ways that, if you're elected, how it would impact the young professionals' lives and maybe some of the change you might affect, or just any other last thoughts for us?
Well, being young professionals, I was asked this question, what are you going to do for young people? Well, being a Republican, being conservative doesn't mean that you're not for young people, that you don't have the same ideas. I think a lot of young people are conservative. I am not a hard right-wing conservative. I fit nicely in the middle of the Republican Party platform. I think I would do a very good job representing people your age, people my age, people that are in their 90s. I am a part of this community, have been. I raised my kids here, my wife and I both have had our practices. This is where we're staying. And that, I think, supersedes an age barrier. I mentioned my cell phone earlier. I don't care how old you are, I'd like to hear from you. If there are issues that somebody who's 25 has that deals particularly with somebody who's 25, they're just as much my constituent as the person who's 65. And for that matter, after you win, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, they're all your constituents. And just because they vote a different party, when you're up there representing them, you represent them. And I will be doing that. I will represent our entire district, everybody in this district.
Great. All right, thanks a lot
Thanks.
for your time, Bill.
My pleasure.